guys. Hope everybody's doing well and having a great day. I've got exclusive video footage from that storm right there doing something very weird. Quite honestly, unlike anything I've ever seen, or Kyle, who took this video last night looking to the north. So he would have been right here just above my mouse cursor in Guthrie, Oklahoma, looking to the north at something highly unusual. And speaking of unusual, I've got more video footage of unusual activity involving trees. It seems like now once or twice a year we get these bizarre videos of dancing leaves on trees that appear to be moving on their own for no reason. We're going to come back and take a look at that and some other video footage I've got to share with you guys. But first, over here at the homepage of the website, I left up yesterday's photo in case you missed it of this ominous looking storm cloud nearly touching the ground sent in by Brian Skinner. And checking in on the GOES X-ray flux over here at the Space Weather Prediction Center, all quiet the last 48 hours, which is kind of unusual as we've had some large sunspots on the Earth-facing side of the sun, and you can see it's quieted down some. There's a little bit of new activity coming around the southeastern limb of the sun, but all in all, it's been pretty quiet the last couple of days, like the Schumann resonance. That's what this graph is. You can see we've seen some activity in the last 4 days. Those large red spikes you see on here are measurements over 40 hertz. The last 24 hours have been fairly quiet. Hopping over to the Yellowstone supervolcano caldera, looking at the seismographs that monitor the mighty supervolcano, seeing a little bit of activity around the caldera with regard to small earthquakes at Little West Thumb, seeing some earthquake activity at Grant Village, up here in the northeastern entrance, eastern entrance, and Hawks Rest. The dark blue represent magma intrusion, so a little bit of activity brewing at the supervolcano caldera. The wildfire situation still very active out here in the western United States, and our friends up in Canada, same scenario as we saw yesterday. Multiple wildfires spanning over 2,000 miles. They're getting a handle on the Park wildfire in Northern California, still showing 429,000 acres consumed. That's a lot, but the number hasn't gone up in the last 2 or 3 days, and showing 49% containment, which is an improvement from the last couple of days. I want to take you guys now to Oklahoma. We're going to start off with this storm that rolled through the area last night. Video footage submitted by Kyle, who was filming this highly photogenic storm that looked like a ship over there in the sky off in the distance, had that very unique shape to it, very low to the ground, and sent out a couple of pulses of lightning that seemed to make contact with the ground right there. But that's not what I wanted to show you, and that's not what he really noticed about this storm. He noticed what looked like sparks every once in a while. Right there went one, and you're going to see something right here in the middle that just doesn't make any sense. It was some sort of like rogue energy that didn't look like a lightning strike, didn't look like strobe lightning, actually has color to it. You're going to see it coming up here in just a couple of seconds, right here in the center of what looks like a big ship. There went another one, hovering over Guthrie, Oklahoma. Check this out. You see that? That was that original speed. Here it is in slow motion. And right here, I slow it down and I pause it when it reveals itself right there. What in the world was going on with that storm above Guthrie, Oklahoma last night? Guthrie is just north of Oklahoma City. Isn't that wild? How do you even explain that thing? And that's what he was noticing last night with this storm as it was moving over Oklahoma, this weird energy that he kept seeing, these little sparks that were flying around, and then that being the largest one that he saw that definitely doesn't look like lightning. Great catch, Kyle. Thanks for sharing. Okay, here we go, guys. The dancing leaves are back. Scott Hart couldn't help but notice on July 31st at 9:07 a.m., the branch moving all by itself up on this tree. So as you can see, when you put it in fast forward, what it reveals is how still the other leaves are around this branch that is moving rather radically for no reason at all. Great catch by Scott out of southern Arkansas. Glenn out of Sarnia, Ontario, sent in this photo a couple of days ago of what looks like a sunflower growing on top of a tree stump, and there's no dirt up there. It just started growing on its own, and he was very perplexed as to how that even happened. And I want to show you something else that I noticed in this photo that was shared with me by Glenn out of Ontario. It was these patterns on top of the tree stump, the squares and rectangles on the top from dehydration over the years. Look at the perfect 90-degree angles. It reminded me of the Devil's Tower in Wyoming. So I put the two side by side, and I couldn't help but notice the similarities and the geometrical shapes of each of the respective, what I call this one over here a tree stump, the one in Wyoming. That's what it looks like to me, and this looks like a small version of the one in Wyoming. Notice the squares and rectangles, and that's exactly what you have there. And I think this one over in Wyoming is actually a small one, even though it looks big, and indeed it is big, but I think there are bigger ones in the area, or at least there were bigger ones in the area. This is the stump out of Ontario. Obviously, this is a much smaller version, but with regard to the geometrical shapes, they're very, very similar. I think the one in Wyoming's a giant tree stump, and all of the trees that you see growing around this thing, I think, are saplings of that former big tree. Just like there's a flower growing out of the top of this tree stump here up in Ontario, I think that's why we see trees growing all over the stump here in Wyoming, because this was once a living organism. Just like this tree stump here in Ontario, this was once a living organism. So the flower had no problem growing on the top of that tree stump. Just like these trees here have no problem growing around the base of the stump. And in fact, if you look at the top of the stump, there's stuff growing up there as well. In fact, I've got a photograph from the top right here. This is the top of that stump in Wyoming. See all the vegetation growing on the top? No different than the small version here in Ontario, because they're the same thing. One's just much bigger than the other, and that's just my opinion, and a lot of people share that same opinion. It's not necessarily a secret. A lot of people think that's a tree stump, and a lot of people don't. I'm one of the ones that do. I very much think it is, and I'm going to show you guys something that I found right here in the Central Plains of the U.S. that very much resembles what we found over in Madagascar. We have versions right here in America that I just found a couple of days ago. I'm still working on the video presentation, and I'll share it with you guys here in the next day or two. Thanks for the photos and videos, guys. Keep them coming. If you guys have any photos you'd like to share, you can send those to reports@mrmbb333.com. If you guys have any videos you'd like to share that are too large to attach to the email, come over here to the homepage of the website. Look for this red banner that says, "Have a large video." It's a Dropbox. Drag and drop your video into the Dropbox. Please include your first name, date, and location, and I'll take it from there. Thanks for watching. Have a super day, and be safe out there.